on how to light up the tabernacle. Now, for those of you who may not be very familiar, when the people of Israel were in the wilderness, they lived in a tent. And that tent, or God's dwelling place, was in a tent. And that tent was called the tabernacle. And the tabernacle had to be lighted. And God gave instruction on how to light up the tabernacle. Although the instruction is not about human beings, I'm going to take that and use it and apply it to our lives. Exodus chapter 27 verse 20. You shall command the children of Israel that they bring you pure oil of pressed grapes, or pressed olives, for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually. You shall command the children of Israel that they bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually. Now, normally I preach from the New King James Version of the Bible, but if you look at the Old King James Version of the Bible, this is how it is rendered. And thou shalt command the children of Israel, thou shalt command the children of Israel that they bring thee pure oil, olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continuously. You would see that in the King James Version, the word pressed is rendered as beaten. Pressed is beaten. Now I'm going to take this instruction that God gave Israel on how to produce oil for the light to apply to your life, to see how God also wants to produce light out of your life. There are four main ideas I want to point out based on the passage we have read. And I'll read the passage again. And you shall command the children of Israel that they bring you pure oil of pressed or beaten olives for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continuously. There are four ideas I want you to take note of. The first one is the olive. The raw fruit of the olive. This is where God starts from. He wants to produce light, but he's starting with the olive fruit. And I want you to think of yourself as that olive fruit. You are that tiny olive fruit. An olive fruit is a very tiny, probably the length, probably an inch. An inch is how many centimeters? Is it 3? 3.5, almost 4 centimeters. Almost 4, because I think in inches and translate to centimeters. Most of you are centimeters people. You are modern people, but you know, British messed us up with feet and inches. So it's just about an inch or 4 centimeters. It's an oval-shaped fruit, greenish. Now he says, this is what you're going to use to bring oil to light my lamp. Now I want you to think of yourself as that olive fruit. The olive fruit that is thought of here is the unripe, mature olive fruit. Because the olive fruit starts as green, and when it is ripe, it becomes blackish. What the Bible is talking about here is not the blackish, the ripened olive fruit, but the mature green olive fruit. That is the fruit in its most mature state. It hasn't gone to ripen yet, but it's mature and unripened. That is where it starts from. So God says, take that fruit. And then the second thing is that press the fruit or beat it. That is how the fruit releases what is in it. It is the process by which the olive fruit yields what is inside it. Beat it. Now, beat it doesn't mean take a cane and whip it. The idea is very similar to how we produce, we pound palm kernels when we want to make palm oil. When we want to make palm oil, we boil the palm kernels, put them in a mortar, and we pound them, we beat them, we press them, and crush it so that we can get the oil out of what we are crushing. It's similar to what God is saying here. He says you take the olive and you're going to beat it, you're going to press it, you're going to pound it. And when you pound it, you're going to get it to break up and release what is inside it. It's a very important concept. God takes the raw fruit and he pounds it. He presses it. He beats it. Can you imagine if you were the olive fruit and you are taking and you're going through this process where you are being pounded, you're being pressurized, you're being beaten? You would think somebody wants to destroy your life. You would think that this person wants to crush you, wants to destroy you, but God says that is what you do with the olive fruit. If you keep it as it is of no use to me. You're going to break it. You're going to break it down, because that is when I start the process of releasing what is inside it. So there is the olive fruit, and then there is the pressing, the beating, the pounding. And then he says, after you have done that, then he says, out of it will come pure oil. Pure oil represents the quality that is going to come out of the fruit. And the reason why the Bible calls it pure oil is oil that does not have sediments or impurities in it, and it doesn't have water in it. And the reason why it doesn't have impurities and it is pure is because, apart from pounding, it goes through filtration. Now, how does it go through filtration? Those days, they didn't have the mechanisms we have now. They do what most of us do. You know, much of what we do in our society is very similar to what was happening in the Bible. If you want to filter something, in this case, the olive fruit, you've pounded it, you pick it up, you take the big seed out of it, and then you get a fabric, maybe organza or some other filtering fabric. You put the raw pounded olive in it and squeeze it. And as you squeeze it, the oil comes out. So there's two levels of pressure. One is pounding you, and the other is squeezing you. And it is through the process of pounding and squeezing that the oil comes out. And God says that is how I want you to treat the oil. And I'm telling you that when God also wants to touch your life, that is what he's going to do. He's going to take your life as it is and put it under pressure. And then after you've been under pressure and you've been struck and you've been beaten, he's going to allow you to be squeezed. And when you are squeezed, you will cry, "Oh, mama, oh, my mother." But God will not hear your prayer at that time, because what he needs out of you cannot come out of you until you are squeezed. It's called pressure. It's called pressure. So the olive fruit is beaten, and then it is squeezed. And as it is squeezed, I'm sure it is asking, what have I done? What have I done? Why do you hate me like that? No, we don't hate you. We love you so much. We see oil in you, and we're not going to allow you to jeopardize yourself. So pressure will release the oil out of you. And then the fourth thing that happens is the light. The light is really the benefit that comes out of the fruit. And the light brightens, the light beautifies, the light brings illumination. But you will not get light until you get oil, and you don't get oil until you are beaten and pressed. The flame of this oil burns purely and does not produce soot. No blackened smoke. So that's why God says, use this process. There are other processes you can use, but it will not produce the light I'm talking about. I want light that does not produce smoke. Because sometimes you can be producing light and smoke at the same time. So people get attracted to your light, but when they get attracted to your light, the smoke gets into their eyes and they are repelled by the light. So there are people with talent whose talents are repelling to people. They have ability, but people cannot use the ability because they are producing light and smoke. But God says if you go through this process, you produce light and there will be no smoke. Your light will be pure, it will be beautiful, it will be a blessing. But for that to happen, you are going to be pounded. And it is not because he hates you, it's because he